Alright, hello guys. Filming in this world a little bit dodgy because last time it didn't respond after about an hour, and our session today might go a little bit over an hour. I'm not quite positive because you just never know with the Phineas form or longer. You might be in for 1 hour, you might be in for 2 hours and 40 minutes, which at the moment I think is my record, and I hope I never break that record. Here at the top of the hour, let's just go ahead and remember for a moment that this is either a no or a minimal edits experience. I just have some things that I gotta say, so we're gonna go ahead and say them, and we are going to pretend that I have black hair, a white collar, a white little ear tag, and black nails. Surprisingly, those things matter way more than you would think that it does, but I forgot to change them before coming in, and we are rolling with the flow, as they say, because I don't want to be too precious with how this one comes out. I just want this one to come out. And it's the manner of delivery, I think, for this one, that just how it comes out is natural. I don't want to try and shape this one too much. Because already it's guaranteed to be a hard one to make, as all of these ones are. If I've done it correctly, that is. So... I am going to take a pause right here, though, just to get my ducks in a row, because just getting into the filming, like, step one is complete, it's begun. And this one, actually, what I can say so far, before having to, like, pause and remember what I'm saying, this one has to do entirely about my insecurities, because I have them. And I uploaded on the main channel a video this morning, which was splendid, because last night was most excellent. And I talk a little bit about that on the other video, but here I want to talk a little bit of the background process behind the making of that video and how I decided to upload it, because there was kind of a confliction within myself about should I upload it or not. I want to talk about that confliction and why I leaned towards making the video opposed to keeping those special moments special and just within me. What that decision led to as I was ruminating upon yesterday and then the video that I did make throughout the day, because many thoughts came to mind. Those thoughts now come here in this video. So I'm going to talk about the video that I made, which will again, and that'll be, part of that will be a recap of last night, which leads into the video that I made, which leads into should I upload it or not, which is a decision-making matrix that I had to run by. After all of this, I will then describe what I learned from making the video. It might not be what you have expected, and then we'll talk more about the system at play. So that's a long one. We've got a lot of ground to cover. We'd better get right to it. So I think actually now that I just gave myself the roadmap, I'm just gonna do this for a sec, and then we'll get to it. Up first, we'll do a run-through of last night. And not like details of it, but the general feeling and the vibes, because the vibes were immaculate, and it's the vibes that are called into question for this video. And the framing that matters is simply to say that there's a guy that I like, and last night found out he likes me too, and we spent a very nice little night together, and it was meaningful. And it hit in a lot of different and really kind of special ways, but it was just a very splendid evening. And it was splendid in a lot of deeply emotional ways, in a lot of different reasons. And some reasons you might not have necessarily expected. Because first, VR experience, that's something new automatically. And then it's the first time I've had that manner of a connection for a while, Since my divorce, I've had one boyfriend, which was totally more of a rebound thing. That was like a summer fling, and was just younger than me. Definitely felt like it. Uh, I was gonna casually drop off like how we ended up splitting up, and it was totally just he didn't realize what we were just in different spaces, and it was totally not a big deal. And interesting that so far there's a lot more of an intellectual compatibility in this new VR. And it's definitely premature to say relationship, but that is also language we're gonna just have to clear through. When I'm saying relationship throughout this video, friendship is a relationship, being in love, relationship, enemies, relationship, how humans relate to each other. This is the general term, just the relationship that I'm in right now with the guy that I like. That's just how people relate to each other. I'm not going to go on and mince words about that from here in the video. We're just going to use the word relationship, and we're not going to be boyfriendy about it. Like, that's premature, not the right language, not what we're talking about here. So we're just going to move forward with relationship for the duration of this video. And in my previous relationship, it was physically rather engaging, and it was fun. But there was not a whole lot of compatibility there outside of that. And so far, it seems like there is more of like an intellectual compatibility, and just more of a more natural getting along, opposed to like, okay, well, we are together, and let's just kind of have sex, and then what else do we do? And then it's like, well, we get high and like watch TV or something, and then let's fool around some more later on, or we'll go to the river, and like that's fun, certainly, but there wasn't a whole lot of just meaningful conversations taking place, I suppose. And then part of that is just someone younger versus someone older, and I usually get along with people who are older anyway. I'm usually always the youngest in the friend group, stuff like that. So there's a compatibility there, on top of it being in VR, on top of that I don't make friends readily in the first place. And so there's just a lot of different factors where having a nice night together meant a lot. It hit in a very special way. I think we kind of table more about how that relationship is and how it feels, how I'm receiving it at the moment. We'll probably come back to it, but at the moment, special. It was a special night and unique. And excellent. It was excellent. I was trying to downplay it just now. Like, I do like him, but I need to try and stay more broad. Anyway. So understandably, I went to bed with like the warm fuzzies, but also the confused fuzzies a little bit, because it was just a lot of, it was a very long day, but an excellent day, and there was a lot of like ups and downs with it. Oh, but then I woke up with the warm fuzzies because it was just a splendid time. And I very nearly did not make a video this morning, which again, last night was the warm fuzzies inducer. And so then this morning, almost did not make a video about it, and I was on the fence about it because I usually want to make a video about things that I know. Or if it's a video about something that I want to unpack, it's usually something that I know how to unpack. Or if I don't know how to unpack it, then I still will have techniques that I want to display. And I always like having an objective for one of my videos, and I didn't really have an objective for the video I made. I called it a VR crush said he likes me back, something like that. And that is strong language. I wouldn't characterize it as a crush like you could say crush. Anyway, what I'm... stay on task. I did end up making that video in large part because it's a good, happy video, because I was feeling rather happy. and taking that happy emotion and putting it in a video and then it exists out there, then that could like spread the happy. And that just seemed like something that, sure, why not? Even though more elements within me were saying do not make the video, because it was a very special time, and I wasn't done holding on to that. Because you woke up, you have that kind of the warm little fuzzies, and then you're thinking about like how did last night go, and processing things a little bit, but then also just feeling things and really enjoying them. And there was a lot of that going on this morning, and making a video seemed mechanically like a good thing to do because possibly multiple people could receive joy from my experience of having experienced joy. But that did come at the personal cost of venting some of that fuzzy, the warm fuzzy. And if it goes into the video, then less warm fuzzy remained with me. And I wanted the warm fuzzy. And I understood if I make a video here, and it did occur, when I made the video, it immediately normalized some of the events which did transpire yesterday, which were and are quite special to me. But admittedly, some of how special that felt did go into the video I made this morning, and I would have, arguably, done better to have kept those warm fuzzies on the inside. Because then all day at work I have a little bit like, oh, a little fluttered, and then I would feel warmed throughout a majority of my day by holding onto a warm little fuzzy. And it's tempting to say that I squandered a fuzzy by putting it into a video so it exists outside of me, which is how so many of my videos go. It's one of the mission statements, basically. It's a extremely valuable tool, and I've used it for shame, regret a little bit, and just to get some of my machinations out. Like, there's so many reasons that taking an emotional or logical even body, putting it in a video, it clears up space in my head and my heart. There's so many reasons that this system is excellent. I employed the system in a questionable time, because that's not a system that you want to use to get rid of joy. You like joy, and you want to hang on to it, because I don't usually experience it a whole bunch. And there's more that I wanted to emotionally unpack and feel and experience and sift through. I wasn't done feeling yesterday and last night, so making a video about it, so I didn't have to feel it anymore, it's in the video now, that was a deeply curious decision to make. It was one I made with a lot of intentionality, and if you're going to go against parts of your better judgment, you'd better be dang intentional about it. And I want to talk a little bit about where some of that intentionality comes from. Because it's tempting to say that I went against my better judgment in choosing to make a video, thereby venting the joy that I was holding on to because I just had such a fun, excellent night and it gave me the warm fuzzies. But I very decidedly chose the reason I chose to make the video is because I had a deep suspicion that there was something there which bore examination. I can't entirely explain what or why or how I knew that the video was correct, that making the video was the correct decision. I don't like it. It was the correct decision, and it has already yielded tremendous benefits, and I've learned what I needed to learn. And the only way I can describe how I made the correct call is to say that all of the voices within me that said to hold on to the video are experiences of the past, how I've made videos in the past, the things that I've felt in the past, in the way that I've processed them. And I know myself pretty well that according to these experiences that I've garnered over many, many years of trying to sort out my emotion states, and not just putting them in videos, but writing and things like that too. But all of this data I've gathered and these points which say, do not make this video right now, you want to hold on to this warm fuzzy, this one's for you right now, make a video later. That's what my conventional wisdoms were telling me, based on most of the life that I've lived and the things that I've learned so far. Harder to trust was an underlying system on which my lessons have been built in the first place. And that system, harder to listen to, was kind of vibrating. And underneath all of the surface levels of I'm going to get this wrong, but you should get the idea of it. Little patterns that a human can understand, the shortcuts that you can make so you don't have to deal as hard with an emotional circumstance because you have pathways and circuitry built in your mind and heart to handle them. And I went against so much of that circuitry because the tool I used to make that circuitry was firing off, and it's harder to listen to that because the circuitry exists for a reason. You have shorthands to handle emotions for a reason. You can listen to yourself for a reason. We gotta get past this. All I'm saying is I went against some of my better judgment because a more core judgment was kind of tinkering around. Like there was something there that needed to be examined, even at the cost of you need to take the warm fuzzy and put it somewhere so I'm not feeling the warm fuzzy, because something wasn't quite right. If you look past the warm fuzzy, there's something going on here, and I chose to figure out what's going on here instead of holding on to the warm fuzzy and carrying that throughout the whole day, and then having a nice, really cute day, and I'm thinking about the fish and how the night went, and instead, it became a day of examinations because something wasn't quite right. I did not fret too much over upload the video, don't upload the video, what do I say, what do I not say, because I try not to think too hard about the things that I do for the most part. But there was about like a 40-minute period where I was like, oh, I shouldn't, do I don't know, and it's like, just stay the course, this is the choice that we've made, for reasons unbeknownst even to me. It's just, on the internal, I knew there's something here that needs to be examined. And I was correct. Because after making that video, and I was on like the bus to go to work, I felt not exactly conflicted. I felt gray or a little I felt like a lawn that hasn't been watered for a while, and in the hot sun, so just like a yellow like a lawn. I don't know. Just a summer lawn that hasn't. I don't know why I'm stuck on that, but apparently that's just how I felt today. Because I had warm fuzzies and I cast them aside into a video to learn something against many of my judgments, and I just chose. That's the choice I made. But that feeling I was left with was a lot of the insecurities. Because alongside the warm fuzzies of how yesterday went, and they were just warm and special, there's a lot of insecurities that come along with it too. Because I haven't been close with someone for a while. So, yeah, there's the warm fuzzies that come about from spending a close evening, and it's really special and delightful. Actually, just a delight. And that comes hand in hand with, oh, are you afraid of being with someone again or opening up to someone? Or, I'm not worried about, are you going to get hurt again? I don't want to get hurt again. And it's like, bitch, please. I've been through 8 years of divorce, and that was the easy parts. Like, I'm good. Not worried about that at all. Just having a blast over here and not afraid of stuff. But there were insecurities all the same. So I want to talk about what those insecurities are. But first, I'm going to mention why talking about the insecurities that came to mind is so important. And I was on the bus ride to work, so not more than an hour after uploading the video I made today, I was conflicted, sort through the conflictions, and understood that I need to make a video, a Phineas Former longer video about it, where I'm unpacking why I feel conflicted about the video I made this morning. And so then, since I had a way to address what I was feeling, I was no longer feeling upset because I knew that I would be coming home today and making this video and unpacking what needs to be unpacked live, because I just love doing that a whole bunch. And we might touch on some of why I like that system too. That might be an ender, more of an end point to the video. We'll see. I might not come back to that one. So first up, hang on, give me a sec. All right, here we go. One of the things that came to mind, one of these insecurities, is something that I touched on in the video in question. About how I want to get to know this guy more closely, because I've been really open, and just to get to know, see what's up. And I was also thinking through some of the insecurities that are going on in the relationship so far. And some of it is the uncertainty of, I've been really open so far. And the more of the videos that this nice fine gentleman has seen, then the more of a glimpse he has into me and who I am. And I try to comport myself with integrity in life, but then in these videos also, if not primarily. So based on what I have or have not decided to put in these videos, that's only going to be a partial picture of me. And the system in place of, like, accidentally, you've got cheat codes to how this guy works because he has hundreds of hours. I'm sure it's hundreds, but minimum dozens. Like, there's a lot of footage of this guy talking about who he is and his life and how he works. And that's just an interesting dynamic for any relationship. To be able to have that mass reservoir of, here's the handbook. It's many hours long. Very long handbook. But I'm not afraid of that. I went through all the trouble of learning how I work, and I'm not going to not share it. So that's not an issue. But if this is going to be any manner of a handbook, and that's not how I characterize it, that's not the right way to think about it, but it does happen to work for the example of right now at least. It's only going to be as valid a source of information as it is honest. Because one of the core tenets I live by, and it's some of what the entire Phineas Former experience has been so far, what it's been about, is I do not believe in, or I guess, like, it is a principle, and I don't subscribe to it, I hate it, where you can never really compare yourself to how other people are doing, because you only see the footage that they've chosen to present. And you don't really see anyone's messy cutting room floor, as it were, and everyone has super duper insecurities, and everyone on the inside's a little bit of a mess, and most people are only going to display the parts of them that they've chosen to display, what made it out of their messy cutting room floor. And I don't like that. Because what if you've got people who both have messy floors and they are... So? Like, so what? Like, I don't want to be alone in my little cutting room floor, and I certainly don't want to be like, right, I want like a special team of like 2 people I can really trust and we'll cut footage together. And it's like, no, I don't. What is this about? Why are we being really precious about like who we are and how we work? And I get it that the world is cruel to people like me. I understand. But I don't think it has to be that way. But what I've been doing here, kind of actually legitimately cutting room floor, because I do a ton of footage, and there's a lot of times I film stuff that just, that's not a good video, that's not whatever. But especially when I trade on these videos, display who I am, you can find out more about me, and I have all these videos. 10 out of 10, that's fine, that system's golden. But if I'm not giving a full and honest picture, that's just not great. In fair part because there is a guy who I like, who likes me too, who watches these. But that could happen again down the line. And even if it's not me personally, I guess, and this thought I'm bringing up feels, like who do I think I am a little bit, but there is no example of me. I have had no example of how to be, how to express emotionality in the intense ways that I do. No examples, no guides. There is no me. And if I found me presently, if this channel existed back when I wanted it, it would be important for me to at least have access to a more fullness. So that you're not only seeing the footage I've chosen to display, which is usually thoughts I know or emotions I can dance around. I love the fields of sorrow. I've learned anger a little bit better. We're doing great. And some of the things I talk about super casually are things that to some people are really challenging. And somehow that turns into a strange hack where I can just casually talk about things that are casually just super cash to me, and people are like, oh wow, this is a deep channel. And it's like, would we say that? Would we go that far? Maybe. I don't know if it's wrong. It's just a little interesting to consider. I don't want to get hung up on that. But even if we look only at the very real, present circumstance of someone with access to a handbook of me, thinking that they know... This is not the correct language to use, but we're going to power through it anyway because I don't want to spend forever on this one. Thinking that they know more than they do because I haven't said everything, and most of what I haven't said so far are things that I'm a little bit ashamed of. And not shame, but insecurity is more the correct language to use. And there's a few reasons for that. Some are just things I'm actually just insecure about. And some of it, though, are thoughts I don't like to talk about because either maybe it feels like I'm whining a little bit, and that's not useful. Or some thoughts are so basic, all humans share, that it feels silly to talk about it and spend video space on it because it's a given, it's a granted, it's just part of the human condition. So why would I make a video about that? It doesn't matter. But without displaying my take on some of the very basic human emotions of insecurity, then there's not a record of it. And it's very important for there to be a record of some of the things that I'm insecure about and some of the things that I'm struggling with. So anybody who watches any of the things that I do and any of the ways that I express emotionality also has a guide, in so much as any of my videos are guides to emotionality. But they can see what this one's like too. Because you gotta cover it all. I'm a huge believer that you can't selectively pick emotions. You can't show friends that you're happy, but then hide when you're sad, and then wonder why you still feel really alone. It's because you can't do one or the other. You can't only feel happy and suppress the anger. You have to allow yourself to feel all of it, and only after you've gotten a really good grasp on anger can you selectively modulate it. But you have to know it in order to really manipulate it that way. So it's important to vocalize this, is what I'm trying to say, for a lot of reasons. And I might touch back on how it's prudent for the current relationship, but we will worry about that later, because now I do want to start getting into more of what the insecurities are in the first place. I think, give me a sec to think, and then we'll go from there. Okay, actually, we do have to touch on the relationship, because it is just especially prudent. Both because of the night that I had yesterday with this lovely fish man. But also it's a dynamic that we're all aware of, and so I think we do need to address it in order to move forward with the remainder of the video, with the correct heart to it. Because there's two systems at play for when I make this video. A third, I guess, because we talked about one of them, which is, I think it would be good for people to be able to see how I express things I'm insecure about, because that's not available. No one's doing that, and I wanted to do that. So we're going to touch on how this video does apply to the fishman and the relationship I'm in presently. But then we're going to touch on the more grand scope of why I needed this video for me, which is the purpose of the video. So, so first we're going to talk about the external relational purpose to the video, and then how it actually relates to my internal world. And you can only relate to the outside world as much as you relate to the inside worlds, stuff kind of like that. So this is the more obvious result of the video, I guess. But we gotta talk about my relationship, which is lovely. Fishman, hello. I am a dramatic. I know I'm a dramatic man. You know this already. So, hi. What a life I chose to live. What a life I chose to live. Anyway. I suppose all I really want to say here is it's a callback to a few videos ago on my main channel when I brought up the challenge behind wanting to be emotionally open, but being challenged in opening to specific individuals. And I'm in such a territory now where I don't want to discuss to anyone in specific my insecurities. I would then have to be open and honest with someone. But these are things that I just kind of, it sounds awesome to have be known of me. because I don't think that they're interesting to talk about, really. It's just a chore to have to talk about, because I've got it under wraps. I'm good. I don't need to pawn these off and have people like, oh, will you help me with my insecurity? Like, I'm good. We're good. I made it 32 years. Like, we're golden. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is just stuff I'm addressing or I know how to address. It's just stuff that's going on. That's good to know. And all I think I feel like saying here for this point is there is an element of expediency to what I'm saying right now because it happens to advance a relationship I'm in right now. In the way that all humans who connect have relationships. But, yeah. So it's expedient in that way. And by having this conversation now, I don't have to have this conversation with him. This is so weird. But we're brushing past that, because that's not actually even an important factor to this. Which is interesting. Because more important, far more important, is that this is a video I need upon recognizing my own insecurities that I'm about to bring up. Because part of what helped me to recognize I wanted to make this video is that I have not displayed a fullness of picture, and I want people to have more of a fullness of picture, that there's some messy stuff going on in here, as well as just, oh, he's a cat man who talks about his emotions, and that's kind of interesting. And so I needed to touch on this body of emotion. But these emotions and these insecurities got in the way of the warm fuzzies. That will not do. Because I had warm fuzzies this morning. I woke up with warm fuzzies. And it was awesome. It was awesome, and I hadn't had little warm fuzzies for a really long time. Not even with my summer fling of like 2 years ago. It's been a while since I've been in a relationship, and it was lovely. But not fuzzy-inducing. And it was just awesome having like the little warm fuzzies. And it was a bit of a bummer to be in tune enough to listen to the machineries inside of me that said, there's something not quite right. And it's like, I just want the fuzzy. It's not quite right. Dang it. Shoot. I tried not to. But it wasn't quite right. And I don't want to ignore something that's not right for the sake of how excellent basically all of it is. There's something that's not right, and I will not suffice less than what's right for me. And Phineas Former is a very excellent man, and I choose to believe that he deserves excellent things. And even if we're in like a close but no cigar kind of a situation, like this one's really important to get right, and that's what gives me the strength to make a video like this, which is very open and honest, and not be worried even a little bit about like, what if it scares away the fish? And it's like, well, that would be a crying shame. I don't foresee that being the case at all. But like, this video has to happen. So any what ifs don't matter, because what will happen because this video has to happen also. So why are you worrying about what ifs? Like this is not an option. This is taking place. And I knew this video had to take place because something about the warm fuzzies was off. Upon discarding the warm fuzzies by encapsulating them in video form, and it was a very fun video to make. I loved it. I have seen it once, and I'll probably end up watching it again, or maybe another time as well, because it was a really excellent night, and it's fun watching me recall it as much as it is watching me recall it. But then there was also one, it's a very special memory. A very good night. And I recognize now that if these insecurities go unaddressed, then they will affect other warm fuzzies. because this is generally stuff I've been holding on to for pretty a long time. And I don't want there to ever be warm fuzzies later on, but then they're in the way, like, they're messed up by, oh, but what about this or that, or what will they think, and I'm like a little bit ashamed or sheepish or whatever. Like, no, I don't want to have warm fuzzies that don't feel right. And a warm fuzzy that, like, oh, but these are the other, you know, it's like, no. That does not happen. Because we're in warm fuzzy territory. And that's so cool. What? Warm fuzzy? Yes, please. I will have your finest warm fuzzy. And right now the warm fuzzies are not as fine as they need to be. Because there's like other baggage that comes into that also. And as surely as I chose to make a video which encapsulated the warm fuzzy, thereby eschewing myself of the fuzzy, a crying shame, I choose to also eschew the resulting remainder of these kind of insecurities. And I don't know if they're going to be unfriendly to bring up or address or whatever, so we'll just see what even happens. And I haven't thought super hard, honestly. There's one I know I need to bring up for sure, maybe two, and maybe like 5. I have no idea. So there's just a few things that we're going to talk about here so that I don't have to worry about them anymore. And yeah, we'll be in a situation where like I know, and then I know that you know, and then that'll be great. But to free up my own mind and let go of some of this stuff feels marvelous. And the lesson of encapsulating emotions into video form, oh, that's a power. That's a power, man. That is a good power. And I choose to enact that now. And I think I've covered everything that I need to cover to get to work. For a recap, even just for myself, I think, real quick. Had an awesome night. Chose to put those emotions into a video, even though I really wanted to hang on to it, because I sensed that something wasn't right. And we also addressed just the factor that I think needed to be addressed, that like it pertains especially to a current life situation with this relationship that I'm in. Human connection. Because that did need to be said specifically. We had to address that. And then we also actually addressed just now that the underlying mechanism is it's something that I need to get out for my own sake. And I think now I'm ready to drink a little bit of water and probably I'll like do my meditate thing for a sec. And then we'll start off. I know where we're going to start. And so one sec. And I think so far we're at a place where I haven't needed to really take an edit break yet, because my pauses so far have been delayed. Like not so bad. I'm putting off the rest of the video. Shoot. All right. It's just it's important to operate yourself with integrity. And the water just now, it had integrity. And you get it. You get it. You get the water. So here we go. I want to start with the one physical insecurity that I have, which is interesting because I don't talk about this because I'm insecure about it. But I do have a type of scoliosis. It's called Scheuermann's kyphosis, which is wedge-shaped vertebrae, and it's caused by a lifetime of having one leg that's a little shorter than the other leg. It's about 1 to 2 centimeters or so. The physical therapist confirmed that. And it's enough that it doesn't like seem super obvious. Although interestingly, when I did start getting into virtual reality and when I got my full body tracking, my model, one leg would bend a little bit because I guess tracking knows what humans are supposed to look like. And so I could tell like, oh yes, the chiropractor was right all of those years ago. One leg is actually shorter because if I raise it about 1 or 2 centimeters, then it's like, oh, well, now my knees are both straight and not one is bent. And that was like so interesting to realize that technology can do that. That was wild. And a little bit of the history there about some of why it's frustrating is all while growing up, my parents just thought super lazy kids, stand up straight, and didn't listen when I was like, it just feels like something's wrong. Because the effect generally is that when I'm standing up straight, it just looks like I'm slouching. And so then typically at the end of a night, if I've been on my feet all day, and then I'm just extra tired of holding up my whole entire skeleton that's a little bit not the right shape, then it's just extra slouchy. And typically doesn't bother me, doesn't really affect my self-esteem. I'm outside of that, like, not even a big deal. And people slouch all the time, so I'm not worried about looking like I'm slouched because I blend in with the humans just fine. The frustrating thing is at the end of the day is usually when I get into VR, and so then that helps me feel insecure with like full body tracking, but then that's when I want to make videos, and there's a lot of things that go into that, and that's frustrating. And there's 2 steps to take about that, and the first is a lot of like chiropractic stretches and things that I'm not excellent at maintaining, because I've been very busy with doing a lot of other things in life, and I had to just drop something out of the mental processes in order to throw into Phineas Former and grow myself personally in all of the ways that I have. I had to dig up the resources somewhere, and so I chose to discard the shame that I feel about my skeletal structure. But part of that also is dropping the language of like I should be better about doing like my stretches and stuff. And I made the choice to just like, we're not worrying about that right now. We are worrying about all of the mental, physical, emotional, just there's other things afoot. So needing to get back to that and not making the choice to yet is something I'm ashamed of. So it's not something that I want to bring up, and I get really shy about, because in VR chat, if you need to calibrate your trackers, you just, put out the arms, and it's not a big deal. But in Resonite, then like the whole, like it's more of an involved system, and so I get like really freaked out, and that's absolutely part of why Resonite is hard for me, is because my skeleton is different than some of the other boys' and girls' skeleton. And that is something I'm really insecure about. And in the real world, I've gotten better at handling that, but then learning how to present myself as a cat, it just has different foibles, so I have to relearn some of these things. Something that I definitely need to do is get an indoor pair of shoes, because I have a heel lift, and that's excellent. And for the entire duration of, because my parents didn't really believe me when I felt like something was wrong, so once I got my own job and was able to go to my own chiropractor and figure that out, then having a heel lift absolutely helps throughout the days, etc. And I'm just doing more VR than ever before. And I'm on my feet, like when I'm at feet at work, and then before work, I'm in VR almost always. And then when I get home, I'm in VR a lot of the time too. So the fact that I'm standing around at home as much as I have been without my heel lift has been causing, at minimum, discomfort, possibly doing damage at the point, because I have been doing a lot of VR, way more than I ever anticipated and more than I even realized. So that's just something that I gotta do, is just buy a new pair of shoes that are my indoor house shoes. Not a big deal there, but that's just something that I wanted to make a video about, because I do spend a decent amount of time, like every day, when I'm in VR, oh, my back is like extra hurting or whatever, because of not just having this type of scoliosis, but then also either not being able to, but if I had made a point about it, I could have bought the shoes by now. I just haven't chosen to. And not even like fancy special shoes that one side is bigger than the other. Just like shoes. Because I have the heel lift. I could have just bought shoes. I just haven't done that yet. So then I'm ashamed about I didn't buy the shoes yet. I haven't done anything. And that's taking up a lot of space in my head. But not anymore. The time of space taken up by the type of scoliosis, it's the past, I don't want to hold on to that one anymore. And so I'm not. And that was the one that was most apparent. So one down, and now I know where the next one is. And let's just keep knocking them out, baby. Let's just keep knocking them out. This is kind of fun. So one I haven't yet vocalized, and I don't know what to do about it. Because there's an immediate shame in a few different ways. It's nuts where this comes in from. Because I am not, like, I don't class myself as a YouTuber or a VTuber. I absolutely am, but I'm itty bitty. I don't edit. Does it look like this video has edits so far? I assure you it does not. And you gotta edit if you want to be a YouTuber. So whatever this is going on, you know, I don't feel like a content creator at the moment, which is, I have no idea. I don't know. I try not to think about myself too frequently. So I don't know what category I belong in. I just, category of one, baby. Phineas Former for days. And I'm going to say something, and we're going to have to linger on it for probably about 10 minutes or so. And it's not going to feel right. It's going to feel kind of yucky for about 10 minutes. But bear with me, because it's really a framing device for a much larger issue. So don't get too hung up about it. Don't get too excited about it, because we're going to brush past it eventually. And what I'm about to describe, as though it's a problem, is not even close to the problem. Trust in the process. And that's the preface for where we're headed next, my next insecurity. And that preface was even required for the honest expression of the insecurity, which makes these things hard to bring up in person, because you have to preface so much. But there's a story that you hear of many a creator being taken advantage of by like one of their fans, and then you open up and then people only want to get close to you because like, oh, it's illustrious, like, oh, he's, yeah, you would go there for clout, or to like, it's cool to date a musician or something like that, not because you like them, but because there's a system at play. And you hear about that happening frequently. And Whispers is the furry musician I listen to chiefly. And he has a song in his most recent album, Sad Drunk Needy, where he talks about why is this guy so loud in his head, and they broke up. And I don't know how much of the song is fiction or how much of it is just inspired by life. But I guess he was dating this guy and they broke up, but they were still on Discord every night, and they still had calls, even though that guy was like in a different relationship at that point. And I guess one of the lines is, and if he asks me if this song is about him again, he's going to lose, something like that. And that's just super scumbag, right? Of that guy to be involved with a musician, and then to, when they split up, still be involved and then ask, like, hey, is that about me? Like, that's just so scumbag if that's a real life situation, and I believe that it probably is. And you hear about that kind of thing frequently. And it stands to reason that it could be a concern, because I'm pretty gosh darn open on what I do on my channels. I'm pretty open. I'm pretty not worried about that stuff. So if I wasn't centered and cool as a cucumber, I can't always pull it off, but I try to be as cool as a cucumber as frequently as I can. Hopefully I hit it every now and then. Hopefully I get it right. That could be an issue. Because if someone's open and vulnerable, then sometimes the world is yucky and will take advantage of things that are vulnerable. That's not a concern for me right now. That is not a problem. And I think we're going to spoil the ending. We're going to spoil the ending of all of Phineas Former. We're spoiling the ending. Because I propose there to be a extraordinary amount of strength in expressing vulnerability in honest and simple ways. I'll get into it later after I've learned more about the system, but I find nothing but absolute strength in what some call a weakness, and being able to just open, honest, express the emotionality and just, hey, you can have that one if you want. You don't want it, that's cool. And what are people gonna, like, not a big deal. And I can thank, you know, the experiences I've had with Oh, for crying out loud, just say it. 8 years of divorce, I've had my dreams weaponized against me. Like, what on earth could any ill-tempered follower have? That, like, what? No, you got nothing on me, dude. Like, I've heard it all, man. And then also just the whole, like, death of a loved one. Like, that's not the sort of thing, like, I'm not worried about what comes next, man. Like, we're good. Not that I'm trying to be antagonistic with that, but just, I'm very solidly, I'm here because I choose to be here. And I love for people to join me on the ride. And I think sometimes in a position of a content creator who is not so centered in where they are, that's my belief in how some of the stories come to be when you hear of them being taken advantage of, or being damaged, or they weren't treated the right way, and then they trusted someone and got really hurt. And I think I said that in a yucky, like, I don't think I paid proper respect to what's actually a very real and damaging situation for so many people. And those are stories that you hear of, and I do not class myself in that group whatsoever, which is the power of Phineas Former, baby. I am a full-grown adult. and most of the people who do what I do are not full-grown adults. And for most people, this would be a step towards where they're going to be. Granted, this is also a step of where I'm headed, but this accidentally turned into a landing page from where I've been already. I did things out of order. And so, the position I'm in, I'm not worried about... Oh, goodness. About being taken advantage of, or being mistreated, like, done that. So, we'll just go for it, set sail, not a big deal. But some of the elements in the story are the same. Content creator, and then I'm in a relationship of some form at present with someone who has seen my videos and therefore has a very key glimpse into me and what I do and who I am. And those are the only similarities of any of these stories, is just a few surface level beats. That's it. And not even in the same genre of story, completely different. Not to mention that I have pretty successfully, like, I don't really compare myself to other people a whole bunch anymore. I used to a ton. And I used to just, it was pretty rough. But now I understand that there's nothing that compares to me, baby. And I choose to leave off the part where it's because there's nothing to compare me to. Phineas Former, beyond compare. What do you want from me, you know? I'll take it. We take those. Those are wins, and we take those. Perks of being the one and only, baby. As me. So I'm not worried about... I'm not worried about it. Usually. But every now and then, there is a... sort of like that Call of the Void situation, where, like, you're driving, and then you're just like, what if I drove off the cliff? And you're like, what the fuck? Call of the Void. And every now and then, when you're hanging out, and you're cuddling with a guy that you like, then it doesn't even have to be like a VR content creator thing, because insecurities will come in no matter where you are. And maybe they only like me for, like, my money, or for the... maybe not just the videos that I make, but the fact that I make videos. But at that point, then they're just attracted to you for, like, the drive that you have. Like, I can't even say any of that, but it's always possible to find a reason to be insecure. And for me, at least, I've gotten pretty good at, well, Call of the Void. Like, not treating it seriously because it's not a serious thing. But sometimes, depending on if I've had the right amount of water, or the right amount of sleep, or if I'm hangry, or if I've been especially emotionally laden, or honest and just depending on what I have going on, it can be harder to just dismiss those thoughts. And that's a human thing. Human thing, not a big deal. Sometimes doubts stay, sometimes they don't. And usually for me they don't, but sometimes they stay. That's just a human thing. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about has more to do with what a grand, extreme, and exaggerated boy that I am. This one, I think, has a little bit more to do with bipolar disorder. Not by means of excuse or whatever, and it's just a way to explain some of the circuitry of what does take place, and I'll describe it to you. But even dropping labels, there's something neurodivergent taking place, that we can say for sure. I think we can say for sure. So I'll explain it, and if it doesn't seem like, we'll see. Because every now and then there's the what if I'm wrong, and actually this guy does only like me because of I have videos, and it's cool being a person who is dating a VTuber, and like I do not believe that's the case, but that's a call of the void thought or doubt that can come into play, especially being new to making videos and having relationships in a position where I had like this. It's new, so you're gonna be it's new. But when a doubt like that comes in, and if I'm not in a position to be able to just fashaw, and just get out of here, stupid, I want to thought an excuse to air kick, get out of here. When a doubt like that gets in, and you're not able to just kick it out, a few things take place. Because very quickly, it exits the zone of the stressor in question. And in the example we're using now, it's the relationship that I'm in some form. But it could be work, school, physical appearance, it could be anything when a little bit of insecurity comes in. And for me, I'm very centered in what I have going on right now. And I can operate with myself. Oh gosh, do I have to go into... How long is this one going to be? Shoot, gosh dang it. Do I have to go into my life directive right now? I gotta drink some water first. Gosh dang it. Shoot. Bah. It's gonna take at least another 20 minutes. Dang it. I mean, it's okay. We accept these things. We're in it for the long haul. It's Phineas Form or longer, baby. We're not worried about time. Shoot. We'll see. Drink some water, too, if you want. Oh, boy. Alrighty. Part of why I liked drinking is I would have less impulse to make videos like these, which feature tremendous amounts of growth, and they're fun to make, but also you have to drink water, and then you have to bemoan the fact that I might end up... Okay, give me a sec. Nothing for it. We gotta go into it. We gotta do it. Okay. I'll try and keep this one quick. What I said a little bit ago about not having emotional examples of myself and how I feel being one of the reasons I require of myself to create said examples. The process behind that system requires perfect positioning of self. I have spent a grand majority of my life... Music, you gotta die. I have spent a grand majority of my time on Earth, trying desperately to identify and connect with the humans. To varying degrees of failure and scant success in relation to the glory of connection I suspect and have since come to know to be possible. Due to the number of times I've tried expressing who I am to individual people at different times in my life using different words and cadences of voice, and at different times in their lives and to a disparate number of people, I have tried many times to open up to specific individuals and have scarcely been met with a positive reaction. Usually it's quite a negative one, where I'd be like causing problems or kind of like rocking a boat, or just at best met with blank stares because people are like, well, what? And that's damaging when I've just lived a life of wanting to connect with people so bad, but the words I use haven't worked. And in the eyes of society, as I've come to experience it, my words are wrong. And I love my words. I use words all the time. And to grow up having a sense of words and loving being an author, and be told when trying to express to other people who I am that my words are wrong. And are the words the problem, or am I the problem? And so then you go back to the drawing board, you try and figure out who I am I the problem, and what words can you use to further refine the emotions I'm feeling, so that the next time I try to open up to someone, it comes out a little bit better. What language do we have to use? How do you do that? And I was never able to get it quite right. I find it to be curious a little bit that I never broke. Never broke. Because whatever's going on the inside of this thing refuses to die. I've tried killing it, putting it in harm's way. I've just... nothing. Because I always come back to my feelings being true and correct, because I don't really think emotions lie, necessarily. You got angry about something and then were able to think about your anger, but the impulse came first. And I think emotions and the expression of emotionality is sacred. So, even as a young child, I thought it was sacred. That emotions are so stinking cool and valuable. So when I was trying to express my emotions, it never occurred to me that I was wrong for trying to express my emotions. It only ever seemed like I had done it the wrong way. So then I'd go back to the drawing board, try and figure out something new, and then go to the next place and try and express emotions there. And it didn't really go well, so go back to the drawing board. because it clearly can't be wrong to speak a personal truth. Who I am, how I feel, how I relate to the world, what's going on inside of my head, that's all super sacred stuff, man. And how could it possibly be wrong to express who you are? The journey I've been describing the past handful of minutes, of there not being an example of me, is I've been able to find artists who are able to express some of what I do, or friends who have some of my ideals that can further me in that direction, but there is no Phineas Former, and no one really has. People don't usually express what I do, how I do, when I do, etc. It just doesn't happen. And my answer for being tired of, maybe I just do get my words wrong, or maybe I just have a really, really bad choice of people. And I think that's probably part of it too. I just choose stinkers. Stinkers. It's a bummer. It's a super bummer, dude. And what happened was not, I'm going to keep trying anyway. What happened is, okay, world. If what I've been doing up to this point of life, opening up to individual people one at a time, trying out different connections, and it hasn't been working, I can't get it right, and I don't know what's going on, but the spirit will not die, and I'm convinced I'm not wrong. That there is something like that the world that I see is real, and it's excellent. And other people don't see it, and that's too bad for them. So I decided to go broad spectrum and inflict myself upon the world. There's not a more polite way to say that, man. Phineas Forward is here because the world didn't receive him. Someone made the mistake of giving me a microphone and virtual reality gear and a platform, baby. It was me. I made the mistake of doing that. And the world is going to have to pay for it because I'm here and I'm loving it. And having a corner of the world to call mine, it's great. And I'm thoroughly excited to see what happens when I, who have never really fit in, decide to be. This is where I'm gonna be. You gotta do whatever you want. I think that might be some of my challenge with Resonate too, as I try and get more into that create space, is I have an indomitable force of will. And I've tried sharing it, and I've tried containing it, and now that it's time to display it, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I've been working on displaying it more and more, and as my endeavors grow, there's just going to be a lot more of me. And I can't wait. And again, that whole system is part of... I haven't found great success in reaching out to individuals. So instead, here's me. Behold. Or don't behold. I don't actually care. Which is why I don't really be a thumbnail boy, and I don't do steps for engagement that I could be. I could make more popular videos, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm just here, and I'm figuring this stuff out too, so not a big deal on that. Now, we gotta bring it further back. Oh, gosh. To the insecurity I was talking about, when I doubt if someone likes me, or do they just like what I do. Stuff like that. Under basically all circumstances, not an issue. When it's called into doubt, almost always not an issue. Get out of here. Stupid doubt. Useless. Because of the indomitable force of will. But every now and then, a circuitry fires off. Because if it is true that someone only liked me for the things that I do and not for who I am, and I have held in such firm belief for 32 years that... Oh, this one's a little chonky. This one's a little rough. Give me a sec. It's a question of foundation at that point. I am very firm in my foundation of self that allows me to be Phineas Former. I am firm in my foundation that any relationship I enter into is because we have decided to be in a relationship. And that's it. And it doesn't even come into question if something's like nefarious or ill-intended or whatever. Like, that's not a factor right now. And I'm very firm in that, in just what I have. That's something I believe. So if I entertain for but a moment that, oh, what if my relationship is actually built on lies? And I have, outside of that point, absolute integrity and belief in my stance concerning my relationship, then not only is the relationship called into question, I'm not doubting for 2 seconds my relationship, I'm doubting my foundation. Because if I'm wrong about my relationship, and the relationship is built on an absolute certainty of self, then you can call into question the certainty of self upon which the relationship was built. In short, if I was wrong about my relationship, what else am I wrong about? And the core principles that have built the life I've selected rely on me, my belief in myself, and the systems and the world that I see. And this is the same world that refuses to die. When I've tried expressing this world to people, and it's not met well, and I keep trying because the belief in who I am and what I do and the things that I see in the world around me is so absolute that it cannot be wrong. And when I kept not finding the right people, I just decided to broadcast the damned thing. That is what I am. What you see is the broadcast of what I am. This is what I am. So when my relationship is called into question, that's built on who I am called into question. And not in a, what am I doing with my life way? What am I doing for work kind of way? Have I made the right choice in my relationship kind of way? Because I've gone to tremendous lengths to structure my life the way that I have, and I know it's strange. It looks a little odd. Yeah, life hasn't always dealt me the best cards, but I made some strange plays with the cards I did have. I have made some odd choices. All in pursuit and deep belief of who I am. And in moments where who I am is called into doubt, then I flash back instantly to the lifetime of sacrifices that I could have been wrong about. All of the choices I'd made and all of the friendships, and maybe I could have hidden who I am a little bit harder. Or maybe I could have tried to be someone else earlier if it turned out that I was someone else all along. If my foundation's called into question, then how much time have I wasted being the wrong person? How many lives have I hurt and just people we didn't get, who, we didn't last in our relationships, in our friendships, just we went separate ways. Because I wasn't honest with myself, because I believed too hard in who I was, and we were just incompatible people. And if that's called into question, then there's an entire lifetime of effect that goes with that. And this ordinarily, not an issue, because I've gotten used to that. And like I said, that's a circuitry at this point. That's a rapid fire. If that happens, it's instantaneous. In the words of Resonite, it happens in one frame. It's just how it goes. But I've gotten pretty good at weathering that, tempering that. You sit down, you eat a hamburger. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, little buddy. And thankfully I can recognize when I'm just being a little dramatic at times like that, and usually it's okay. But there's a few reasons that's vital of me to point out. First, in the context of a relationship, it would be a cry and shame for it to be seen of me that I am upset, Phineas Former is upset, and maybe I did something, and that's me, and I'm pretending to be a partner or something. What did I do? Did I do something wrong? Did I set him off? What is that? What's going on? And it's oh, he really wanted to go to Steak Shack or whatever. And it's no, I put on the wrong pair of socks, which now has me questioning my entire reality because I made a mistake when preparing for myself in the morning and didn't realize that something was wrong until halfway through the day. What else have I not realized has been wrong in my life? What have I done? And you call everything into question because of a pair of socks. My head's a bit of a bummer sometimes. It's not usually that bad though. And when it does get that bad, again, I have a whole bunch of life of just being oh boy, that was big. And usually you can look at it the catastrophe of your socks and be well, that's a little silly. And it's usually fine. So it would be a bummer if I ended up in a relationship with someone who didn't understand that. Because then they're like, oh, what can I do? He cares so much about socks. And it's like, no, it's just that it happens sometimes. It's not a big deal. And thankfully I can say that because in my position it is not a big deal because I have lived a lifetime of learning how to navigate it and how I operate. To a lot of people with my kind of chemistry in the brain, it's not okay. And those people can be a lot because I used to be a lot and I still am a lot, but I know what to do with it. A lot of people don't. And God bless them. Good luck to you. I want to say it gets better, but really you just get better at dealing with it and it still sucks, but also you get good or you die. Like, there's not a better way to say that. I'm so sorry, but you'll be fine. You got this. You know, thumbs up. Whew. There was one other reason that that was important to bring up. It's not about like the little problem. Oh, and it's not ever anything that like someone did. Because even if like a relationship got a little rocky, no one called into question my entire self-worth. You know, that's me. That's a my chemistry thing. And that's really important for anyone to know when interacting with someone of an abnormal brain chemistry of exactly my flavor. And I know that I think I know where to go next. I gotta take a second. I noticed that we're in for a pretty long one, by the way, so far. When I went to get water last time, I stopped. I was like, how long is it? I was like, oh, it's a Phineas form or longer. It feels like it, man. Sure feels like it. Talking about shame still, I think. And shoot, what was the word we've been using? Because shame for this one absolutely does apply. And it's something that does come hand in hand with like the warm fuzzies that I was feeling earlier. Because I get pretty ashamed that I can't be normal. Because sometimes when I put on the wrong socks in a day, I fall apart. And I make it sound way more dramatic than it actually is. I fall apart, but for like a second or two. A few minutes. It's really intense for a few minutes. But not a big deal. But I do fall apart. That is a true thing. And a lot of people are in relationships with people who don't fall apart. And people who have normal responses to circumstances. And every now and then, because I know I get such extreme reactions to things, I feel really ashamed of being friends with someone, being in a group of people. If I'm at a party and something happens and I just get into a mega downer mood and I need to like go step aside, take some time for myself or whatever. Or if I'm not in a place to be able to step aside, if I'm on a road trip or something, like, I get really upset with myself for not being able to react to things in a normal way. And even though I've got my circuitry pretty well in place for being able to adapt and regulate swiftly, even still not being able to be normal is a big problem for me. possibly in part because it looks so fun when normal people hang out. It looks like such a blast. And it looks like everyone else has a really easier time connecting with other people, too. And that's like messy cutting room floor kind of territory. I know, it's dangerous to compare yourself to other people. But it sounds like fun for a problem to not immediately biologically fire off into absolute questions of foundation, of self. And when I get the warm fuzzies from spending a really sweet night together, it gets paired with concerns of being too much, taking things too seriously, having no chill. I'm worried really frequently that I have no chill, because I have no chill. Phineas Former has no chill. And I worry about that sometimes. And I worry about that for other people, too. And right now, for instance, I'm in the tail end of MMC, the Metaverse Maker Competition in Resonate. And that's really cool. And I've had enough cooking and going on, and the past 2 months of growth has been astounding. I went from being unable to resonate to being upset that I cannot resonate more frequently. It's nuts. But that amount of growth has inhibited me from being able to throw into this obligation of mine as much as I would like to, and there's tremendous levels of shame there because I'm way too busy learning how to live this life in this way. And it's been exceedingly difficult. I've been doing an excellent job. I don't think that's... Oh, I don't want to have to edit that out. So far we're in a no edit zone, but that doesn't really quite apply. So let's forget that I said that I brought that up, really. Because that could be a pretty human concern, just not having time for everything as much as I would like to. But a lot of the times that I have been taken away from working on MMC is when these questions of foundation have come into question. And typically, not a big deal. Not a big deal. You got a little doubt like that? Fwaboosh. Phineas Former, baby. Like, we're good. Rock solid foundation. It's not rock solid. I would probably consider it a little bit more like a carbon core, nano core, whatever. I have no idea why I say it that way, but I do. Whatever those really strong tubes are. Anyway. What I guess I'm getting at is I would like to be able to identify with people on the level that other people seem to be, and I can't. And when I'm a team member, I can't be as reliable as I want to be. Today, I canceled on a friend that we're going to play Resonate with because I had invited him to karaoke, and then I had I felt the weight of the world for a little bit, which helped precipitate the night that gave form fuzzies. So I'm very happy that I fell apart on that day, which is interesting. But that happens. And sometimes, pretty frequently actually, my plans go awry. And I get really happy when I'm able to pivot and to express that pivot in a video form. But to be able to adapt and stay moving and go with the flow, as people say. Ugh, stupid. But I learned how to do that. And it's great. And when I'm on my own, because my emotion states are always evolving, it can be really hard to stick with plans, and I get really worried about being dependable. So when I'm in a group, I feel tremendous something about, okay, MMC is this month. Gotta be dependable this month. And then fuckery occurs. It's like, okay, well, gotta take care of this. Okay, now we'll gotta be dependable again. And just stuff keeps coming up, man. Which, a lot of that is just I'm in a period of deep growth. And that's going to segue into our next and hopefully final thought, because this has been Phineas Former long enough. I think we're getting there. We're headed towards the end, I think. And outside of just being dependable, I'm worried about, like, dependable in a group, but for a person. And it's hard making plans with a friend. And in the context of a relationship, it's hard putting trust in someone that it's okay for me to be a really emotional lad. And to feel the weight of the world if I realize something small, like I wore the wrong socks or I dropped a sandwich on the ground or something like that. Because that calls into worth, on occasion, rapid fire, space of one frame, all of my foundation. And that's not how normal people are. And so if someone's in a relationship with me, it feels like there's a pretty consistent that I would want to be able to be normal for someone, and I can't. Which feels like a deficiency. And that comes into question sometimes when I'm feeling warm fuzzies. And I don't like that connection. Let the fuzzies be the fuzzies, and don't worry so much about not being able to be normal. Those are unrelated systems. But when the warm fuzzies come about because someone was involved in the system, and that's excellent. I love human connection. It's the best thing in the world. And so it lights me up. I love connecting with people. But it's when people are involved that I get really worried about not being able to be normal. So fuzzy that comes from hanging out with people is attached to I don't know how to be with people. That's generally what the idea is, and we could try to go more into it, but I haven't thought about it a ton, and we gotta move on, because I'm ready to be done, man. I want to, there's just things I want to go and do, and it's getting late. It's been a long filming day, it's been a long day, and it's time for this video to start wrapping up. gosh. I feel like there was one more spot to hit. Give me a sec. And I actually did just reach a point where I do feel especially like it is time for this video to be done. So I'm going to just hurry and do a rapid fire closeout. And if it feels wrong, I'll stop myself. But we're going to start closing it out. And I get the feeling that it's really time for this video to be done. And I don't understand why. But we listen to those feelings when they show up. So what we've landed on so far at least, and what we've achieved really, is I expressed 2 insecurities. One, which I think was more of a warm-up, because it was easier to talk about. And then this one was a lot more of a chonker, and harder to bring up. And it has a lot more to do with relationships, but how I relate to them. And spelling it all out and putting those feelings into a video, the hope is that I can worry less about being abnormal. And being ashamed of being abnormal a little bit. And some of that comes into a full acceptance of being fucking weird. I am very weird. And I don't think it works for me to pretend that I'm not. And I think ultimately that's what the video landed on. So yeah, a little bit about insecurities, but mainly I think what I learned in this video was my insecurity in connecting with other people is concerned that I can't be normal. But now that I know that, I can just stop trying. And that looks like leaning even further into just being me. And hopefully that works out okay. I guess that's just too harsh of a wrap up. But I don't know why it's time for this video to be done. So it is done. Very abrupt, but we listen to those when they show up. Don't listen too much to my wrap up. That was just, I threw that together. I had to throw something together. But it's time for this one to be done, I guess. So, you made it. You made it. What a good potato you are. Well done. Okay, bye. Thanks for hanging out.